Ryan. Welcome back. It's been a minute. In fact, I think it's been like a year since I made anything for this channel. But I'm happy to be back. Yeah. So today we're going to play 1000 Year Vampire, which is a journaling solo role-playing game. And we are going to play it in a way that just plays like the lighter version of the game that's not so heavy on the journaling. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. So I will give you an overview of the game. I will make a character. We'll jump through that, make it quick, and then I will basically then start playing the game. And it's going to be edited for your pleasure. I am going to use some cool dice. I got myself a dice cam now, which is kind of fun. And then I've also got some extra dice, which will be fun to use. These are called Rory's Story Cubes, and they just have pictures. But I like using them for oracles because you can really quickly put something together if you have to come up with something. And it just, I don't know, it skips looking up tables and stuff. It's really, really nice, actually. So maybe give it a shot if you're considering it. Okay, so 1000 Year Vampire, let's do this. 1000 Year Vampire is a lonely solo role-playing game in which you chronicle the unlife of a vampire over many centuries of their existence. So basically, you are this vampire. You're going to be living this lonely existence over hundreds of years, theoretically, starting from a period, in the, 14th, 15th century or something, and then proceeding up potentially through like the 21st century or beyond. And the game can end. It can end prematurely. Your vampire can be killed or just, something ends their existence. So basically the way that works is we will go to the character sheet here. This is, I haven't quite created this character yet, but this is going to be Mercutio Vespucci, a Italian vampire. And you have skills, resources, characters, and marks. And if you ever run out of skills and resources and you have none to draw from, that is what ends the game for you. So yep, you're a vampire. You need a D10 to play this game, D6, those story dice I showed you earlier, those are extra. You need to have something to write with. I'm gonna just be typing straight into the PDF. How nice is that? Memories. So you have basically kind of like what's a memory inventory, I guess is what you would say. You have room for 5 memories, and each memory consists of 3 experiences. One single thing in this game, one prompt, one sentence, one thing happening is an experience. And so a memory will be made up of 3 connected experiences, which you'll use to kind of create your story. But you only have space for 5 of them. So what happens is when it comes time to either create a new experience, so what happens basically is if you don't have room for a new memory, you have to forget something. You have to forget a memory to create room for a new one. And this represents the passage of time and you just being several hundred years old and not remembering stuff that happened because it all kind of becomes a blur. And here are some examples of experiences. It should just be 1 sentence for an experience. So you can make it very evocative, but you're not writing a whole paragraph. That's for if you're doing the journaling mode of this game. Mention skills. Skills are things you can do. You'll use them in basically as part of certain prompts, and you'll put a checkbox by them to show that you've used them, and then you can't use them again. It's not because you've forgotten them. It's just to show that you've use this skill in the story, so they've been used. However, you do like cross them out or put a checkbox by them because there is a chance that something in the game will uncheck them so you can use them again. Resources, again, these are going to be your items. They could be like huge things like a deed, a land deed, a castle. It could be something super small like a lucky coin, who knows. But you keep resources, and a lot of times prompts will give you a new resource, so we'll ask you to spend a resource, very, very similar to a skill. And then characters, of course. Those are your NPCs in your story, for example. So yeah. Oh, and then marks is basically what makes you a vampire. Like what makes you look like a vampire. You look like a vampire, your marks. So yeah, I'm going to create this vampire now. And then one last thing. Here are the 2 styles of play. Quick game, journaling game. We are playing the quick game today. We're going to answer the prompts in the way that feels most natural. This is like standard solo role-playing stuff. Don't try to like force things. Don't try to like take control of the game. Let it play out. Let it kind of take a life of its own. This is solo role-playing 101. Don't overthink it. It's okay to be uncomfortable. This is a game. This definitely like content warning, I guess. We might get into some dark shit in this game. And if that happens, then feel free to click off. And I don't know, if it gets really dark, I'll put a trigger warning or something beforehand. I don't foresee it being like that. I don't know, maybe. I'm not really feeling in the mood to go extra dark, so I'm not going to force it. But if it happens, it happens, right? I haven't actually played this before. This is my first time playing this game. Okay, and and then here are the prompts. So let's make that vampire real quick. So my vampire's name is Mercutio Vespucci, and I think that he is going to be an Italian noble, born from a young age and raised with music during the Renaissance. So something about me, I play the piano in real life. Anyway, Mercutio Vespucci, piano virtuoso, some kind of tragedy is going to happen to him, and it's going to cause him to become a vampire. But he begins playing the harpsichord because that's what they had before the piano. And so an Italian noble, he's going to become, so I'm going to say that he was born in Florence, Italy in the 16th century. I'll just start out in the 1500s. Mercutio Vespucci, I'm from Alabama. All right, so this is where our story dice are going to help us out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just roll 3 story dice for each character, and then based on that, I'm going to put it together. I may not use all of them. It's just how it goes. The first thing that comes to mind, the most natural thing. So here's the first roll. All right, so we've got a guy jumping off a ledge, a submarine, and a path through the forest. Okay, jumping off of a ledge, Italy, I'm thinking cliff diver, some kind of a daredevil, and a woodsman, an explorer. Okay, so that's going to be our first person. And how is he related to Mercutio? How does he know Mercutio? Let's roll another dice for that. Arrow, they're archery buddies in the woods. Okay, so in fact, he's taught Mercutio archery, which will be one of Mercutio's skills. So this character's name, so this is going to be Enzo. Enzo, and he's a woodsman, an archer, cliff diver, ladies' man, why not? He's very rugged. And he trained Mercutio in archery. He's like a rival, all right? He's like a rival to Enzo. Now he's not a buddy. He's just something that Enzo is like, doesn't really get along with him. However, they have done archery together. So one of Enzo's skills right off the bat will be archery. You know, Italian dudes just going in the woods to shoot some bows and arrows. Okay. Yep. Let's see here. Next character. So let's roll 3 more dice. All right, we've got a foot, we've got a person reading, and we've got a fairy. I'm going to associate foot with big footprint. This person has a big footprint in Mercutio's life. Takes up a lot of space. You know, I'm going to say it's a little weird, right? A little bit of subconscious stuff coming through. I'm going to say it's his mom. Let's say that she's like a bookworm. Maybe she spends all of her time in the library reading. She loves, you know, fantastical stories and stuff. But she's also like very overbearing. All right, I am busting out my copy of the Nomicon by Matt Finch. Italican. Here we go. We have Italican personal names. Italican, I like that. That's very funny. So his mom's name is Albina Vespucci. Overbearing mother, bookworm. When she's not reading, she's scolding and molding. Scolding and molding. I made that up on the spot. How's that? And by molding, I mean she's scolding and molding Mercutio. She will not be around for long. All right, one more character. Let's roll the dice. Okay, we've got somebody hanging on. We've got that forest path again, and then we've got somebody knocking over like a lamp. We're going to play it the way the universe has given it to us. Reaching. Okay, oh, he's not hanging on. He's reaching for something. Reaching for something, knocking it over. But let's do a friend. This will be Mercutio's friend. And he's going to be like a con man that steals artwork because that vase is getting knocked over, and he reaches for things and he takes things that aren't his. So he's also kind of like a kleptomaniac or a thief. And his name shall be Geraldo. I like it. You probably can't even see this because it's going to be it's going to be behind the dice. Geraldo Buruso. And he is a conman. Say he's a hermit. He lives in the woods and he steals arts and crafts. It is the Italian Renaissance. Boom. There you go. Probably easier to see now. So yeah, why don't we add that to our skills list? Mercutio has learned some things from Geraldo, namely pickpocketing. He's kind of a rebel, right? All right. Pickpocketry. I don't think that's a word. All right. And then, as I said, he is a virtuoso pianissimo. And so he plays harpsichord. So I'm going to just put harpsichord. Music harpsichord. Okay. So he does have a physical harpsichord that his parents used their wealth to acquire for him and has been left to him in his father's death. Mercutio's father, not going to be in the picture, at least right now. So we have a harpsichord. Let's see here, what else? Let's say that he has a prized, his archery. He's got like a very nice bow made of the finest Italian olive tree wood. Okay, so he's got an olive tree or olive wood bow, and it's like master crafted. Not that, you know, that's a thing in this game, but in our imagination, it's a fancy ass bow, just the best bow you can get, right? And what should his third thing be? Oh, this is a good time for the story cubes. His third thing will be either it could be an estate or it could be a bug net for butterflies. You know what? Okay, let's combine the two. So let's say that he has inherited the estate from his father who's passed away. However, there's some kind of a legal matter and there are people going after it trying to get the title of this estate. All right, and let's give the estate a name since that feels pretty flavorful. This estate will be called Zerialto. Okay, I guess it would be like the Vespucci estate, but we'll just say this estate is so nice that it's got an Italianic name. Okay, so got our characters, we've got our resources. What do we have next? 3 mortals. Oh yeah, there are 2 kinds of characters, mortals and immortals. Immortals are a lot more rare. You're going to create 1 immortal character that gives your vampire their powers. So we're going to create 3 more memories. All right, second memory. So let's just do this first off with the first character, Enzo Rapallo. And let's say I competed with Enzo in the yearly archery contest. Did we win? Oh, we got extreme no. Okay, he humiliated me despite my beautiful olive wood bow having been a gift from my parents. And he also took the hand of my beloved. Yeah, let's say that. He stole Enzo's girl with his mad bow skills. Man. Enzo stole Mercutio's girl with his mad bow skills. So Enzo's kind of a dick. All right. And that makes me want to create another character. But you know what? I don't know. Maybe Mercutio just got over it really fast. Memory 3. So the third one will be with his mom. Mama Albina. Let's do a little dice roll here. Okay. Okay. So drama face, temperamental, something getting tipped over, and then a pyramid. Mama Albina's disposition was always unpredictable. I learned to steer clear of her tantrums when she would smash dishes and vases around the estate. Let's say this after father died. A little sad, right? So there's some grief going on with Mama Albina. And yeah, she would smash stuff up, and in his mortal life, Mercutio learned to steer clear of her fits of anger. Tantrum sounds too childish. Her fits of rage. Ha. The last one will be with Geraldo. Geraldo was my only outlet for mischief on days we were not exploring the Florentian forest. I don't know if there was a forest near Florence. Somebody can call me out if they want to, feel free. When we were not exploring the forest, we would often be nicking small pieces of artwork for his hut, because he's a hermit, right? He lives in the woods, and he keeps his artwork in his hut, and it's like a really nice, very cultured hut. If you walk inside, there's pieces of artwork. It makes no sense, but hey, Geraldo, he's a unique guy, and he's really goofy, and Mercutio enjoys his company. So the last memory is going to be how we became a vampire. So let's create that immortal character. So yes, we will see what the dice say. Okay, look at that. We've got an ogre-looking guy that talks, and we've got little dude hanging. Let's get a little bit more on this. I don't want to say straight up an ogre because, you know, how does an ogre make Mercutio into a vampire? All right, so a flashlight, a cauldron, and a cage. Okay. So cauldron and a cage. That makes me think more like a witch. I kind of like that. A witch. The witch looked like an ugly ogre. Like she just had like, you know, very brutish features. In fact, why don't we call her name Bruja? I think that's witch in Spanish, right? Brunella. All right, Brunella the witch. And you know what? She had a fling with Mercutio's late father, and things did not go well as they normally do in flings, and she cast a curse on him, which ended up with Mercutio becoming a vampire. Yes, she cursed his she cursed his progeny, and Mercutio was born. He was born a vampire? No. So Brunella, the British witch, ex-girlfriend of father, ex-lover, okay, cursed his only son with a poison, vampirism, which Mercutio drank unknowingly and caused him to become a vampire. So what is his mark? Well, we're going to roll the dice to find out what his mark is. He has there's a shovel and a hole, a trident, and a tower. Okay, think about that real quick. Trident, tower, and a hole. I'm kind of going to lift this from the book, but I liked it, and I think it makes sense given the context. So this potion that Brunella gave Mercutio created like a hole in his neck, like it burned through. And because of that, now Mercutio must wear fanciful scarves to conceal his wound, his unhealing wound of this like hole in his neck, this very grotesque hole. Yeah, tower makes me think of neck, trident, puncture, right? And then the hole. So hole in his neck. Maybe it's affected his voice in a certain way. Whereas before he had a very like flowing melodious voice, now it's like a little bit more raspy. Yeah. Okay. And he's also now an undead immortal vampire. So it's not all bad, right? I don't know. Maybe immortality is actually quite bad if you will. We'll see. That's what this game's about. All right. So we now have a vampire created. This is Mercutio Vespucci. I am Mercutio, an Italian noble and a virtuoso, meaning like a musician, pianist kind of guy, born into privilege in the 16th century in Florence, Italy. All right. So we created 3 characters. So we have the first character, Enzo Rapallo, which is a woodsman, an archer, a cliff diver, an all-around ladies' man, and also Mercutio's rival. And the memory that we have associated with him is this first one over here. I competed with Enzo in the yearly archery contest. He humiliated me despite my beautiful olive wood bow having been a gift from my parents. And he also took the hand of my beloved. So, yeah, Enzo just walked off with his girl, and even though he had his nice new bow, and humiliated him. All right, next character is Albina Vespucci, Mercutio's overbearing mother, and also a bookworm. When she's not reading, she is scolding and molding Mercutio into what she thinks he should be. Mama Albina's disposition was always unpredictable after father died. I learned to steer clear of her fits of rage when she would smash dishes and vases around the estate. By the way, the estate is called Zerialto. Third character, Geraldo Baruso, a con man, a hermit, Mercutio's buddy, and together they steal arts and crafts for Geraldo's hut. Geraldo was my only outlet for mischief. On days we were not exploring the Florentian forest, we would often be nicking small pieces of artwork for his hut. So skills that Mercutio knows. Archery, although he's not a very good archer apparently. Pickpocketry, he has learned to steal small items of art and note with his buddy Geraldo, and he also has learned to play the harpsichord exceptionally well. Harpsichord is the early piano. Resources, he has a harpsichord in the estate that he owns the title to, that he inherited from his parents, and then he still has his mastercrafted, that's what the MC stands for, olive wood bow. And then finally, the way he became a vampire, an immortal character, Brunella, the brutish witch, the ex-lover of Mercutio's father. We probably got to give his father a name. Cursed his only son with a poison of vampirism, which burned a hole in his throat from the acidic potion. And now he must cover that hole with a sash, and he has a raspy voice rather than his rich, melodious voice that he had before. All right, so that is Mercutio. So let's actually start playing this game, and you'll see that the game itself goes quicker than the character creation. So the way this works, when you play it, you're going to go off of prompts, and each prompt you are either going to add to an existing memory or you are going to create a new memory if you don't have any space. And also, prompts will cause you to have different things happen, as I mentioned, to your character, to your vampire. So let's go down to the prompts. And the way that you roll for prompts is you're going to take the aforementioned D10 and a D6. You're going to subtract the result of the D6 from the D10. And if it is negative, you move backwards. If it's positive, you move forwards. So 10 minus 6 is 4. So we're going to move forwards 4, starting from 1. So that would take us to the 5th prompt. And you will do these prompts multiple times. There's actually 3 prompts, but we will start with the 5th prompt. So you murder someone you love or respect rather than let them expose you. Kill a character, check a skill. If you have no living characters, kill no one and create a beloved mortal character who you have betrayed. Ooh, I like that. All right, so let's go back to our character sheet. I think it's pretty clear here to me who we are going to kill. Enzo. He stole our girl. And he's discovered, because he's our rival, he's discovered that not only did he steal a girl, he's discovered that we're a vampire. He's found, he's seen evidence of it. Maybe he saw the hole in my neck during an archery practice. I stretched the bow too far or whatever, and he saw the hole in the neck. And he's going to tell the world. And rather than let him do that, I am going to kill him. And it's not, I don't love Enzo, but I do respect him. After all, he did best me in archery. And we'll check a skill. So what are we using to kill him? Probably archery. In fact, that feels very fitting. So we've used archery, and Enzo is no more. Strike through for now, but I think we're actually going to just delete him to make space. Yeah, and I'll put that right here. All right, so Enzo, holy shnikes, what's going on? Enzo saw my mark and threatened to tell the world. When his back was turned, I managed to put an arrow between his shoulder blades. This is a dark moment for Mercutio. He is a vampire. I hope she misses him. So the girl that Enzo stole, I hope she misses him. Man, now who's the dick? Mercutio's kind of the dick. I'm sure there's better software for this than what I'm using. This would be the second memory. So I killed Enzo in cold blood to protect my identity. Okay, next prompt. That is going to be a 5. So we'll jump forward to the 10th prompt. Okay, maybe we just got to get out of edit mode. The stars pinwheel above you in the night. The seasons are a blur. You are as an automaton, unconscious of the passage of decades. A century passes. Strike out a memory. Strike out all mortal characters. Whoa, that is cool. Okay, so 100 years have passed, and it doesn't even matter. Our other characters are dead. We've been living our life, probably cramped up in our estate. So let's just go to make those changes. So we're going to strike out his mother. She has passed away. And Geraldo has also passed away. Look at that. I think I'm going to get rid of strike out a memory. I think we'll get rid of memory 4. As sad as it is, his buddy Geraldo, he died, and they weren't going and stealing artwork together anymore, so it doesn't even matter. Just going to go back on here and put a quick tidbit. The years passed by, everyone I knew died, and I was left to my own devices in Alto. Still has a cool ass sounding estate. All right, so that's interesting. All right, let's do our next prompt. See, this is going pretty quick now. And 100 years has passed by, so it's now no longer, I don't know, let's say 1513. It's now 1613, okay? And we have 3 minus 2, so we're just going to go forward 1. How do you find solace from the raging hunger within you? You may lose 1 checked or unchecked skill. Let's lose the checked one since you normally can't use a checked one. It's a little gamey, but it also makes sense. Mercutio has become a master archer over time. The stuff that happened with Enzo really stayed with him, at least for a while. And so he is now like a master archer. And he uses it to hunt animals, to drink their blood, because that's what vampires do, but also, only on special occasions, to hunt people in the forest. And these woods have become haunted, and that will be our third. Continued to master archery, hunting animals, and the occasional person. The locals became convinced the forest was haunted. I'm like not even typing right now, but it's just that slow. All right, so our second memory is full. So there's no more involving bows in the woods, you know, that's done, right? Okay, and we are good to go to the next thing. Mastered archery, yes, that is working much faster. Mastered archery, hunted animals, and the occasional human. Woods have become haunted. So rolling for our next prompt. 7 and 1, that is 6. So we jump forward 11 plus 6, 17. You commit a despicable murder, but not for the sake of feeding. Why? Check a skill. Remove a mortal character if you like. We don't have a mortal character to remove because they all died. Check a skill. So we either do music, harpsichord, that we have to use the skill in some way to murder. So it's not somebody specific here. How do you kill somebody by stealing something from them? I think he has to use music. I think he's got to use his harpsichord to murder somebody. Oh my gosh. Over time, the occasional hunting of humans in the forest was not enough for Mercutio, and his hunger increased, and his need for excitement increased, I guess. Yes. And he resented that his mother had made him learn to play the harpsichord and wished to take out his rage using this device. And so let's ask the dice who it would have been. Oh, sad. Okay. We got like a wizard and a plane. Okay, well, the plane, a traveling. Let's say like the local priest, all right? A traveling priest. A traveling priest came by, and he had heard of this evil power in the woods, and he heard rumors of a reclusive individual that lived in the Zerialto estate, and he was led to the estate, and Mercutio beckoned him in. Upon entering, Mercutio quickly subdued him and slew him. He killed him. He killed this priest, and he put his body into the harpsichord, and he played a little ditty, a little sonatina of type. Well, the priest's remains dripped blood from the harpsichord strings. Really gross, but you know what? It makes for an evocative description. Yeah, and since it was a traveling priest, then it would be quite some time before the church decided to send anybody looking for him. All right. Mercutio murdered a traveling priest who came to his estate looking to banish the rumored evils of the nearby forest. He used his harpsichord to hold the priest's remains while he played a ghastly sonatina. Okay. And so let's strike out. We're actually going to strike out our harpsichord. And at this point, I don't know exactly when pianos were invented, but let's just strike out harpsichord. Because after that, he never played the harpsichord ever again. But he still had music. Okay, and this would fit in with the estate. Darkness continued on the estate. A priest was murdered, dumped into the piano. All right, let's do one more prompt and then we'll call it good for this video. And we'll do another one. Why not? The tale of Mercutio can continue onwards. Unless it crashed out. Did you crash out? No. All right, next prompt is going to be 2 minus 5. That's backwards 3, so we're going to go backwards 3 now. So we're actually going to go up. This was like a really good idea on paper. At least I thought so. So we go from 16 to 13. Generations of the same family serve you. This line starts from any living mortal character or from the descendants of a dead mortal character. What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? Lose a resource and create servitors of the lineage resource. Okay, so let's do that real quick. We have, let's lose our bow. We're not doing archery anymore. And we'll tie this all together, because what we'll do is we will strike that through. And we will say, so we have servitors. We are going to get a new program for the next time we record. Servitors of the lineage of, oh, man, this is dark stuff. So these are going to be Enzo's descendants. Not only did he show up this guy and murder him, but he then employed their children and their children's children over hundreds of years. And they are now servitors of the lineage of Enzo. And the bow was a gift, ironically, to the head of their family, the patriarch of the family. And it's now being passed down. The very gift that was used to murder their great-great-grandfather Enzo is now being passed down through the family, without their knowledge of it, of course. Man, this shit's getting dark. Yeah. Okay. So we got a new resource. Any living mortal character or from the descendants of a dead mortal character. What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? We got our bizarre ritual. They passed that freaking bow down. All right, and I think that this is a good stopping point. This is cool. This is fun. This is the first time I played this. I think this video, I learned a couple things. So mainly Adobe Acrobat. It's not good for doing like nice looking text stuff. I mean, yeah, whatever. Yeah, so I think I'm going to try to change my video or my word processing thing for next time. And yeah, we'll just save this and leave it for now. I wanted to talk for just a minute afterwards too. So yeah, journaling games are much more about the story, much more about putting the pieces together and coming up with cool stuff, which to me really encapsulates the fun of a solo role-playing game, is creating a story and having all these little connections come forward, which is always fun. And it was cool. I think it really captured that kind of dark feeling of it. There were a couple of things that we glossed over, and I think that we probably needed to create an experience or a character here or there. But you know what? It's fine, because when you're playing a game, it's the way that you play it, and who cares if you did it right or wrong? Did you have a good time? And I think we did. So yeah, happy to be back. I'm going to definitely make a few more of these videos. This one's going to be a pain in the ass to edit. So I think I'm going to take it down though from like an hour and a half to like 20 to 30 minutes. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, please let me know if you have any questions. If you're enjoying what I'm doing and you would like to see more of it, if you have requests, please reach out through comment. Feel free to like and subscribe, share if you've got a friend that's interested in this game or how it works. And yeah, or if you just were interested in learning how 1,000-Year-Old Vampire works, I hope that I helped it make a little bit more sense to you. All right, have a good one.